Hello everyone. In this video, we are going to see how we can handle dynamically loaded page elements using CITS. It means some page elements may take longer or lesser time to load, and also their behavior in the application is quite different. So in this application, we have two specific examples of such behaviors. So the first example is when the element is actually hidden in the page. So let's open this up and see. Yeah. So once we click on this start button, then we have an Ajax loader. So the loader icon is available, and then the text hello world is made available to us or is made visible on the screen. And the other application, the same concept. There is a start button. If we click on this, the loader appears, and after a stipulated period of time, the hello world text is made available to us. So the behavior of both these applications is the same. However, there is a subtle difference in the way the DOM is loaded. So if I reload this page and if I do an inspect, and I inspect the start button, if you see, immediately after the start div, there is a finish div, and the finish div contains this hello world already, whose style is set to display none. That means by default, it is not displayed on the screen. However, this element is actually present in the DOM. Okay, this is very important to understand. This element is actually present in the DOM. Now, if we go to the second example and reload, do an inspect on the start, here we see that there is only one div, and that is the start div. There is no finish div. That means that element, the hello world text, is not present in the DOM at the time of load, right? It only comes in when we click on start, and then the loading is completed. Yeah, then this div uh, called finish is actually added into the DOM. So this is the difference, and let's see how we can handle both these situations using CITS. Okay, now to do that, let us bring the two applications to their default state. Yeah, okay, now we go to CITS, create a scenario, I would say dynamic weights, and I would say create two test cases, TC1. This one will work on example one, and then we will have another one called TC2, which will work on the second example. So right now we are in TC1. So we'll start the recorder. We are in loading /1. So we are in example one. I'll start the recorder. So right click, open, the browser is opened. Then we record the event. So we click on start. So the click is recorded, and then we will wait for the hello world to appear. Here the click will not work, so I will do a right click, go to the extension text assert element text equals. Yeah, so we will assert that the element text equals hello world. Yeah, that is pretty okay. We'll remove this unwanted click, and that's it. That's the end of the recording. If we look at the object properties, start is quite okay. It's locating it using the start text, and also there's a button, so that's fine. And the hello world is also based on the text and then the H4. So if we come here, if we do a right click, it is the div, then the H4. So the object properties are okay. There is no need to change anything. So I'll just rename this to message. Yeah. Now my test case 2 will be exactly the same as my test case 1. But let's first make my test case 1 a little more formidable, like a little more meaningful. So we'll open the URL. We will wait for page loaded. That's okay. Now we are going to click on the start, and then we're going to assert the element text equals this. Now, before we do this assertion, we have to understand two things. That by default, the tool waits for 10 seconds um, before it times out. So if the loader takes more than 10 seconds to load this element, we will get a failure. But if the loader takes less than 10 seconds to load this element, this is okay. But we cannot leave it to chance. So what we can do is we can add a dynamic wait, like we can say message, and we can say wait for element to be visible. Yeah. So this will wait for the element to be visible on the screen, and then it will move forward. But this wait is also going to be of 10 seconds. Okay. So how can we change this default time of 10 seconds? What we can do is we can create a line here called browser and say change wait time, and it says changing the wait time by some seconds. So we're going to say we are going to set the wait time to um, 20 seconds. Okay, so this will mean that the timeout is now changed from 10 seconds to 20 seconds. This should be okay for the first test case. I'm going to copy the content of the first test case onto the second test case and see if the behavior is the same for both the applications or not. Right? So in the second test case, the URL that we will be hitting is 2, is ending with 2. So I'm going to change it to 2, and that's it. Oh, I'm going to add dummy line because I want to run this in debug mode. And I'll put a breakpoint here. And I'm going to copy this line, also add it to my second test case. That's it. We are good to execute. Let's see what happens. Save and run in debug mode. So now the click has happened, and now it says that um, the message element becomes visible in stipulated time. That means within the 20 seconds, it becomes visible. So wait for element to be visible. This action was successful. And as soon as this happened, it moved on to the next action, which says, yeah, the assertion is successful. That is, the text message is indeed hello world. Okay, now before we go on to the next test case, we will stick to this test case for a while. And now let me change the wait time. Let me change the wait time to 3 seconds. And let's see what happens in this case. So I'm going to run the whole thing in breakpoint debug mode again. And you see, in 3 seconds, it could not find the element. Wait time to be, wait for element to be visible failed because the wait time was changed to 3 seconds, and there's a failure, could not wait for the action to be completed in the given 3 seconds. And the final message is this element message is not visible on the page. Okay, so it is quite clear that by changing the wait time, we can ensure that a text which takes some time, not just a text, but any element which takes some time to load, uh, is made available on the screen. Okay, this is how the first test case behaves. Now let me close this one and let me try to run the second test case. Okay. Now for the second test case, I have kept the wait time as 20. It's going to open up this URL ending with 2, and let's see how it works. So now it is going to wait for element to be visible, and this one works perfectly okay. So if we give more time to it, so the element becomes available in the stipulated time. Now, it is important to understand that when you set the wait time to 20, it is not 20 seconds of wait, but a 20 seconds of timeout. That means the element will be checked for presence, or rather checked for visibility, every 500 milliseconds, but till a maximum of 20 seconds. And here you can increase it to 30, 40, completely depends on your application. All right, so that was about wait for element to be visible. Let's see how this application behaves when we change the wait criteria. So if we go to the test case 1, there is another wait that we can include, and that is wait for element to be present. All right, wait for element to be present. Now I'm going to change it back to 20 because that's a safe number. And I'm going to change this one for the second test case as well to wait for element to be present. Okay. Now, what is the difference between wait for element to be visible and wait for element to be present? Now, for visible, it is important that, or it is imperative that the element is actually appearing on the screen. But for present, it is imperative that that element is actually present in the DOM of the application. Now, in our application, uh, we saw, let me just reload this. We saw that this finish div with this text is present in this application. It is present in the DOM of this application on default load, right? But in the second example, it was not present, right? Only the div start was present, the div finish is not present. So how will this impact these test cases? So let's run the first test case where we are saying that wait for element to be present. So let's run this. Yeah. So this has already failed. So it says that wait for element to be present. It immediately says the element is present. Hey, that is perfectly okay. The element is present in the DOM. But then the next action where the assertion of the text happens, there the element is not visible, right? The element has not fully loaded, and that's why it fails. So this weight that we have inserted here is not the right weight or the right kind of weight, because the element is actually present on the in the DOM of the application. So we should go for wait for element to be visible in this case, which we saw in the first half of the video. Now if I run the exact same thing for test case 2 with wait for element to be present, you see, now it will wait for the element to be present, and it will wait for a maximum of 20 seconds. And then the element is actually made available in the DOM, because originally it was not there. Now it is made available, and then the text assertion works fine. So in this case, wait for element to be present is okay. So this is an example of how the different kinds of weights in the tool can be used to handle dynamically loaded elements, and which weight should be applied to which situation. We also saw how we can alter the wait time of element finding. So we can increase it, we can reduce it from the UI of the tool itself. That's all for this video. Hope to see you in the next video.